If somebody transferred 10 million dirhams into my account today and gave me 30 days to invest it, I genuinely couldn't tell you where I'd put it. Not immediately. And that surprised me because I've been helping people buy property in Dubai for more than 22 years. You'd think I'd have an instant answer. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized the obvious answer probably isn't the right answer. Because if I bought a luxury villa, I'd be walking away from premium apartments. If I bought apartments, I'd be walking away from family townhouses. And if I chose Dubai, I'd be saying no to Abu Dhabi. And if I bought residential at all, I'd be ignoring what I think is one of the most interesting investment stories in the UAE right now. That's grade A commercial property. You see, every investment decision is really two decisions. What you buy and everything you're prepared to walk away from. So this isn't really a property discussion. It's a capital allocation discussion. Because once you're investing 10 million dirhams, you're not comparing projects anymore. You're comparing completely different opportunities. I've also noticed something interesting over the years. Investors with significant capital rarely ask, how much money can I make? More often they ask, how do I avoid making an expensive mistake? Because once you've built meaningful wealth, preserving it often becomes just as important as growing it. That changes the question you ask, the risks you're prepared to take, and ultimately the investments you choose. And before I spend a single dirham, I keep coming back to the same question. Who is my future buyer? Because after 22 years in this market, one thing has never changed. Every investment eventually becomes an exit strategy. The person who buys this from me in 5 or 10 years decides whether today's decision was brilliant or expensive. So I don't start by asking, what should I buy? I start by asking, who will want to buy this from me later? And by the end of this video, I'll show you exactly how I'd think it through. Not as an estate agent, not as someone selling you the latest launch, but as someone investing 10 million dirhams of my own money. Because property doesn't make people wealthy. Good decisions do. This isn't really about 10 million dirhams. Before we go any further, let me explain why this question matters. This isn't really a video about 10 million dirhams. It's about how sophisticated investors actually make decisions. Because whether you're investing 1 million dirhams, 5 million dirhams, or 10 million, the process should be almost identical. The numbers change, the thinking shouldn't. And here's the biggest mistake I see investors make. They start with a project, a brochure lands, a glossy presentation, a WhatsApp from an agent, a YouTube video telling them the latest launch is the opportunity of a lifetime. And straight away they're asking, should I buy it? Will it go up? What's the payment plan? What's the rental return? In my opinion, those questions come far too early. The first question should never be, is this a good project? It should be, is this even the right asset class for me? Because if you get that wrong, everything after it is irrelevant. That's why before I make any significant investment, I picture a whiteboard. I write down every realistic option in front of me. And then I'm not looking for reasons to buy, I'm looking for reasons to eliminate until the strongest option is the one left standing. That's a completely different mindset. And I think it's one of the reasons experienced investors consistently outperform people who just chase the latest launch. The opportunity cost test. There's a concept almost nobody talks about. Opportunity cost. Every investment decision is also a decision not to buy something else. Every choice closes another door. And this is where I think investors go wrong. They become obsessed with finding the perfect project, when really they're trying to find the best use of their capital. Those are two completely different objectives, which is why I don't compare projects first, I compare opportunities. So if I genuinely had 10 million available today, here's how my whiteboard would look. Premium apartments in Dubai, family townhouses in Dubai, luxury villas in Dubai, luxury villas in Abu Dhabi, and grade A commercial offices. 5 opportunities, 5 different demand stories, 5 completely different future buyers. So let's go through them. Dubai isn't one market, so let's start with Dubai. And the first thing I'd say is this. One of the biggest mistakes investors make is talking about Dubai as if it's one property market. It isn't. It's dozens of markets, all running at the same time. Person buying a studio in JVC isn't competing with the person buying a waterfront apartment in Dubai Creek Harbour. The family looking for a townhouse in the valley isn't competing with somebody buying a villa on Palm Jumeirah. They're completely different buyers, which means they respond to completely different demand drivers. That's why I don't start with the property, I start with the future buyer. Because every investment eventually becomes an exit strategy. And the future buyer is the person who decides whether today's decision was a great investment or an expensive mistake. Now, one thing we know for certain is that Dubai keeps attracting people from all over the world. Last year alone, the city added more than 200,000 new residents. That's the equivalent of another medium-sized city arriving every single year. And the money follows the people. In the first quarter alone, more than 137 billion dirhams of property changed hands, with sales value up almost 20% on the year before. Those numbers matter, not because big numbers are exciting, because they tell me demand remains deep. Now, the last few months have been quieter. There's been regional noise, and if you're watching the market closely, you'll have felt it. But step back to the annual picture, and the demand story is still very much intact. Because here's the important bit. Demand doesn't automatically make every property a great investment. That's where experience comes in. Apartments. Let's start with apartments. Now, before some of you switch off because everybody on social media is talking about villas, hear me out. I actually think premium apartments deserve far more attention than they're getting. And the data is starting to agree with me. The latest forecasts have premium apartments outperforming villas on capital growth this year. A real shift from the last few years. I'm not talking about tiny investor apartments in high-density towers. I'm talking about genuinely desirable apartments, larger floor plans, exceptional architecture, waterfront locations, buildings where people genuinely aspire to live. Think about the entry point too. The average villa in Dubai now sits at around 13.6 million dirhams. The average apartment, under 2 million dirhams. That gap alone tells you how much bigger the apartment buyer pool is, because that's the real reason the buyer pool is enormous. Think about the people arriving in Dubai. Senior executives, young entrepreneurs, professionals, retired couples, and international investors. Many of them don't want a villa. They don't want a garden. They don't want the maintenance. They want security, facilities, convenience, views, and quality. That's a huge market. And when demand is broad, liquidity usually improves. That matters enormously when the time comes to sell. Then we come to townhouses. I actually think townhouses occupy one of the most interesting positions in today's market. They're often the stepping stone between an apartment living and a villa living. Private outdoor space, family communities, schools nearby, parks, walking trails, much of the villa lifestyle without paying villa prices. That's exactly why they've become so popular. And here's the question I'd be asking myself. How much new townhouse supply is coming over the next 5 years? And the answer is a lot. Right now, more than 50,000 villas and townhouses are under construction across Dubai, with handovers promised between now and 2030. Because popularity attracts developers. Developers respond, supply increases. That's exactly how markets are supposed to work. So while I like townhouses as a product, I've become incredibly selective. Again, who built it? How many are being built? How many competitors will I have when I eventually come to sell? Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, villas. Everywhere I look at the moment, Instagram, YouTube, WhatsApp, the message is remarkably similar. There's a shortage of villas. Maybe, but I don't think that's the complete story. I don't think Dubai has a shortage of villas. I think Dubai has a shortage of good villas at the right price. There's a massive difference, and the data already proves it. In the last year, some villa communities are up 30, even 40%. Others are flat or falling. Same city, same quarter. The label villa told you nothing. The location and the developer told you everything. Because some of the villa communities launching today will become iconic. Others won't. Some will create genuine scarcity. Others will create abundance. That's why I don't buy into headlines. I buy into fundamentals: quality, scarcity, density, developer reputation, and pricing. Because here's something I've learned over the years. A fantastic property can still be a poor investment if you overpay. And an overlooked property can become an outstanding investment if you buy it at the right price. That's why I never begin with, is this a villa? I begin with, is this the right villa? Completely different questions. Dubai sells opportunity, and then I stand back and I look at Dubai as a whole. I think one word sums it up: opportunity. People move here because they believe their future can become bigger than their past. They come for careers, businesses, education, tax efficiency, international connectivity, and lifestyle. That's what creates demand, not marketing. Real people making real decisions about where they want to build their lives. And that's why I continue to believe Dubai has one of the deepest future buying pools anywhere in the world. And then I ask myself another question. What if lifestyle matters more than opportunity? What if the future buyer I'm trying to attract isn't looking for the energy of Dubai at all? What if they're looking for something quieter, more spacious, more relaxed? Because if that's the case, the conversation changes completely. And that's exactly why my whiteboard doesn't stop at Dubai. It takes me about an hour down the road to a city telling a very different story: Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi is selling something completely different. Now let's drive an hour down the road, because I don't think Abu Dhabi is trying to become Dubai, and I don't think Dubai is trying to become Abu Dhabi. They're solving different problems. Dubai sells opportunity, Abu Dhabi sells lifestyle. I think that's a really important distinction. If I were buying a home for myself and my family, Abu Dhabi becomes an incredibly interesting conversation. Beautiful beaches, championship golf courses, marinas, low-density communities, less congestion, and a slower pace of life. For many people, that's exactly what success looks like. Developers like Aldar have spent years building communities around that vision. Now Modon is doing exactly the same. The quality of what's being delivered is genuinely impressive, and the numbers are extraordinary. Abu Dhabi just posted its strongest quarter on record. Residential transaction volumes more than doubled in a year. Total sales value hit around 46 billion dirhams, up well over 200% on the same period last year. And unlike Dubai, prices there are still accelerating, not cooling, up nearly 18% over the year, with apartments leading at over 20%. Abu Dhabi has also quietly become a magnet for the world's wealthy. Its millionaire population is up around 75% over the last decade. That's not lifestyle marketing, that's capital moving. But, and this is important, lifestyle and even record numbers don't automatically create a great investment. The same questions still apply. Who is my future buyer? What makes this community genuinely different? Will it still stand out in 10 years, or will it simply become one of the many similar choices? Because that's the risk with every successful market. Success attracts supply. Supply creates competition. Competition separates exceptional assets from an average one. Which brings me back to what I said earlier. The shortage isn't villas, it's good villas at the right price. Same conversation every market. The opportunity nobody seems to be talking about. Now let me throw a curveball. If I genuinely had 10 million dirhams to invest, why am I assuming residential is automatically the best place for my money? Because one of the biggest trends I'm watching has nothing to do with where people live. It's about where businesses want to grow. Look at what's happening. Family offices are relocating to Dubai. Global businesses are establishing regional headquarters. Professional firms are expanding. Private wealth businesses are arriving. Technology companies, consultancies, legal firms, financial institutions, and healthcare businesses. All of them need somewhere to operate. That creates an entirely different demand story. And here's what fascinates me. Whenever people tell me there are cranes everywhere, I smile, because they're looking at the wrong cranes. There isn't a shortage of office buildings. There's a shortage of genuinely institutional grade A office space. That's a completely different statement, and the numbers are striking. In Dubai, occupancy in the good buildings is sitting at around 95%. Prime office rents are up about 16% in the last year, and top Grade A space has jumped roughly 27%. Here's the detail that says it all. When DIFC opened its newest Grade A tower this quarter, it was fully leased before it was even handed over. The good buildings are spoken for before they exist, and the pipeline is tiny. Across all of 2026 and 2027 combined, Dubai is adding only around 400,000 square meters of office space, much of it already pre-let. In Abu Dhabi, it's the same story. Office occupancy around 98%, and the financial free zone, ADGM, grew its operating businesses by nearly 40% in a single year. The firms are arriving faster than the right buildings can be built. If you're a global investment bank, a private equity firm, a family office, or an international law firm, you can't occupy just any building. You need exceptional buildings, efficient floor plates, modern infrastructure, prestige, parking, technology, amenities, buildings that help attract and retain talent. That pool of buildings is surprisingly small. And that's exactly why I think commercial property deserves to be part of this conversation. Not because offices are fashionable, because the demand is real and the supply simply isn't there. The Team Stephen investment framework. So after 22 years in Dubai property, how do I actually make these decisions? I've developed a framework my team and I use every single day. It doesn't matter whether you're analysing an apartment, a townhouse, a villa, or a Grade A office. The questions never change. Question 1, who is my future buyer? Question 2, why will they choose this asset over every other alternative available at that time? Question 3, what makes this genuinely scarce? Question 4, is the density appropriate? Question 5, has the developer priced it sensibly? Question 6, what competition will I face when I eventually come to sell or rent? And finally, question 7, would I still buy this if nobody on social media was talking about it? I love that last question because it removes emotion, it removes hype, it forces you to think independently. Let me give you an example. Imagine 2 villas, both cost 10 million dirhams. One is built by a developer with a proven history of creating iconic communities, low density, exceptional landscaping, limited future supply. The other looks very similar on launch day, but there are thousands more planned. Higher density, less differentiation, more competition. 5 years later, those 2 investments may have completely different outcomes. Exactly the same principle applies to commercial property. 2 office buildings, similar size, similar price. One attracts multinational occupiers willing to pay premium rents. The other struggles because the location, the design, and occupier profile never quite came together. The asset class didn't determine the outcome. The selection did. And that's why I've always believed something very simple. I don't buy headlines. I buy fundamentals. So where would I put my money? Now, you're probably expecting me to finish this video by telling you exactly what I buy. The honest answer is I already know. I've already shortlisted 2 or 3 communities in Dubai that I think deserve consideration. I've shortlisted 2 communities in Abu Dhabi that I think are incredibly interesting. And I have 1 Grade A commercial opportunity that I believe almost nobody is talking about today. And I'm not going to tell you what they are today, and that's deliberate because I don't believe there's one perfect investment. If you're buying a home for your family, my recommendation could be completely different from someone looking for capital growth. If you're focused on rental income, I'll think differently again. If you're diversifying an existing portfolio, the conversation changes once more. Every investor has different objectives, different budgets, and different time horizons. Different attitudes to risk. The right investment isn't the one I like the most, it's the one that's right for you. That's why I don't sell projects. I build investment strategies. So if you're currently thinking about investing 5 million dirhams or 10 million dirhams or any significant amount in Dubai or Abu Dhabi property, don't choose a project before you've chosen the right strategy. Book a strategy call with Team Stephen. We'll compare apartments, townhouses, villas, commercial property. We'll review projects you've already been shown by developers or other agents. We'll challenge your assumptions. We'll score every opportunity using the Team Stephen investment framework. And together, we'll identify the opportunities we genuinely believe are most likely to help you achieve your objectives. These conversations are most valuable before you've signed a reservation form, before any money leaves your account, because that's when good advice has the greatest value. If you've watched this video expecting me to tell you that Dubai is better than Abu Dhabi, or that villas are better than apartments, or that commercial property is the next big thing, I hope you've realized that's not how I think. Property investing isn't about finding the best property, it's about making the best decision. Dubai offers opportunity, Abu Dhabi offers lifestyle, commercial property offers exposure to business growth. All three can create exceptional wealth. All three can disappoint if you buy the wrong asset. So the question I'd leave you with isn't what should I buy? It's this: 10 years from now, which opportunity would I regret walking away from? Because after more than 22 years in this market, I've learned something I believe is true for every investor. Property doesn't make people wealthy. Good decisions do.